What up, people, and welcome to Lanepod, City of Lane's 10 to 15 minutes weekly podcast focused on MBA admissions and experience for motivated Africans. So, whether you're an MBA enthusiast, an applicant, an admit, a student, or an alum, this is the show for you. Hi, I'm Samuel, your host, and today's topic, titled Getting Off The Waitlist, is inspired by Stella from Ghana. Stella, let's delve right into it. The MBA waitlist is pretty much self-explanatory. It's a list of applicants, neither rejected or accepted, but are being considered for acceptance if a spot becomes available. The key word here, if a spot becomes available. And the reason why schools do this is schools constantly are usually aiming to admit a specific number of students for their incoming classes. So whether that's 100 per class, but they would extend offers to say, 120, 150, whatever that number is. But not all admitted students will choose to enroll. So maybe at the end of the day, they're left with 80 and they need 20 more. So schools often will keep a safety net to ensure that they are able to enroll enough students while maintaining quality and diversity. So, you don't want to admit more than what you can take in, but you also don't want to admit people of the same race, the same profession, of the same gender, and so many other factors that might be considered. The problem here is, Stella, it seems like you're on the wait list, and I can understand how you feel because I myself has had to work through coming off a wait list. It wasn't a pleasant experience, but I didn't have the understanding I had now. So I'm hoping that by sharing what I know with you, you'd be able to be comforted in the fact that, you can still be admitted if that school is the school of your dream. So the way we will break down this episode today really is to start off by understanding why there's a waitlist or why you could be on a waitlist. And there are two major reasons why. And then we could talk about how to improve your chances of getting off into being admitted. Starting off with the first part, there are basically two reasons. In my experience, I can't think of anything more than two reasons. Number one, the most important one I would say, they're both important, but you'd see why I started off with this one first. The number one reason is slot availability, like seat availability in class. If there's one thing we all know about tomorrow, is like no one knows it. No one knows what tomorrow would look like. And schools certainly do not know who will accept their offer. So there's an uncertainty with the application, with the acceptance rate. Some people would be admitted but would choose to go to another school. So the only reason why you're not accepted right now has nothing to do with your profile. That's number one reason. It has to do with slot availability. The moment a slot becomes available, you'd be admitted. And this is especially true if your profile matches that of another person that they prefer or has a slight edge over you. Once that person accepts, there's really nothing they can do to get you in as long as there's no slot available. Like, they've already extended an offer to that person. If that person accepts, they're not going to magically create a new seat. I don't know if that has happened, but I would think it's not common that they would magically create a seat for you to get in. So no matter how much you're trying to improve your profile and all that, it may not work. And the reason is schools have certain metric. I mentioned in one of my last episodes that a class size might be 1,000. But really, the class size for your type of profile from your country may only be a couple of tens, like 10, 20. So you're really not competing for a class seat of 1,000. You're competing for a class seat of 10 or maybe less. So when it comes to this reason, it's essentially out of your control. And the reason why I'm pointing this out is you can be comforted in the fact that why you're not admitted has nothing to do with your profile. It has everything to do with the competitiveness of, externalities, as economics will say. And it's important to know that because you don't lose courage knowing that. You know that you can try again next time and you will certainly get in, all things being equal. The second reason, which is where we're going to spend a lot of time, is within your control. That has to do with profile deficiency. So that could be weak GRE, your recommendation not being strong enough, your resume not quite clear. There's a couple of areas that could mean your profile is deficient. And in some cases, the word deficient is relative. Like, you could be in a pool of highly competitive applicants who for some reason have scored 340 in GRE or 700 in GRE, and your 690 is not just cutting it, or maybe your 695 is not just cutting it. Now, that's something you can do. You can do something to improve your profile. And in many cases that I've seen, maybe not all, the schools would indicate what they want you to work on. So you can quickly tell what portion you belong to, either, slot unavailability or profile deficiency. It seems like these days is getting harder, and we'll talk about how to improve your chances of understanding what. And sometimes you really don't even need to know the difference. You just need to focus on improving your chances. So, how can you improve your chances? There are 4 ways you could do it. Number 1, know the rules of engagement for getting off a waitlist in a particular school. It varies by school. 2, always reaffirm your interest, leveraging the methods or pathways for communication as indicated in the rules of engagement. Number 3, improve your profile and make sure you communicate that. And lastly, just stay in touch. So let's try to break this down. So Stella, number 1, know the rules of engagement. People just think that, what applies to school A also applies to school B. It's usually not the case. Schools have their own quirks around, how to engage them while you're on a wait list. Some of them are very, particular about how you do it. Others are more freestyling and free-flowing. So it's important to know. Sometimes they'll send out guidelines in the email that indicates that you're waitlisted. Sometimes it will be on their website. Read those instructions carefully. I'll tell you, take it a step further, Stella. Confirm your interest with the current, your understanding of the rules of engagement with a current student who may have been waitlisted before. Like, just reach out to people on LinkedIn and say, hey, especially if you're in a community at Lane, please don't lie if you're not from Lane. Just join us and then you can say you're from Lane. Like, you're from City of Lane, and you've currently been waitlisted at their school, and you're trying to really understand, what the rules of engagement might look like. You're only looking for 15 minutes time slot, 15 minutes, and adhere to that. So, adhere to those rules. You have a conversation. Make sure you're adhere to the rules of engagement strictly. Now, there are 3 other, things you could do. Reaffirming your interest. I would say do that in writing, but at the same time, what does the rule of engagement say? The rule of engagement allows, here's what you need to do. You need to respond to that email that indicates that you're waitlisted. If it's not coming from an admission officer, it's just coming from an email. CC the admission officer that you're in touch with or you've been working with. And respond within 1 to 2 days, actually. You want to do it while it's still fresh, but not too fresh enough. Don't respond within 30 minutes. A day minimum, where it shows that you've thought about it a bit and you're not just responding on the whim. So this is what you're going to do in that email. First of all, thank them for the time spent in reviewing your application. Very important. It shows you're empathetic. You know what it takes. Sometimes it's a lot of stress. It's not an easy, decision to make for a lot of admission officer. Acknowledging that is key. Number 2, iterate your top 1, 2 reasons for your interest in the program, and make sure you're communicating enthusiasm about the program. Number 3, ask what you could possibly do to improve your chances of getting admitted out of the waitlist. So thank them for time spent on reviewing your application. Iterate your top 1, 2 reasons for your interest in the program. Ask them what you could possibly do to improve your chances of getting admitted. And then part of 3, more like 3B, offer to jump on a 15-minute call if they prefer to talk over it as against write it down. And then number 4, again, thank them and ask if there's anyone else aside from Mention the names of the people you've spoken to in the past. You've spoken to David, Maxon, whoever it is. Who else can you speak to? The reason why I say at this spot is it indicates you're in touch with the school. It's a stronger way of communicating interest in the program and that you're passionate because you're speaking to other people. Keep the email short. Like each of those 4 parts should be no more than 1-2 sentences each. Preferably 1, and maybe the only 2 sentences where you iterate your top ratings for the interest in the program. So that's 2, communicating, reaffirming your interest in the program. Number 3 now has to do with the work. Like you need to improve your profile. I would say start with the quick wins, like your resume. Get someone else to review your resume, a current student or someone who's been through the MBA program. As a matter of fact, you might even be able to use AI to say, okay, where are the areas I could use? I'm writing an application to the MBA program of this school. Where are the areas I could possibly improve my resume? Get that, rewrite it, and speak to people. You might also need to get another recommendation letter, And depending on your profile, if you have a weak GRE or GMAT or executive assessment, you might want to take that again. Again, just confirm, like from the admission officer, what exactly are they really looking for so that you can devote your energy into improving your chances by targeting the areas of your profile that they consider weak. The last portion is, and this might not be it may not exactly be a quick win depending on where you are right now. Promotion, like you need to communicate if there's a promotion in the horizon or you've been promoted during that time frame. Communicate that. If there are other achievements as well in your social curricular activities, maybe you got promoted to some level of leadership role in your in the NGO work that you're doing. Make sure to communicate that. Did you win a competition? Did you win funding for your startup? Did you play a significant role? All your achievements and promotion, make sure to communicate that. So that's how you improve your profile. And lastly, stay in touch. Gauge how often you should stay in touch in your conversations and, like your email trail or your conversation with current student. Ask how often you need to stay in touch. I would say, like, do it regularly, but not less than 2 weeks, except if you're providing significant updates and promotions and things like that. But be professional and be respectful. And if you're unsure about whether your emails are getting too much or the content of your email, get someone to review it. These things really matter, right? Like every touch point is an important way to improve your chances of getting in. So don't take it lightly. And those are the 4 ways you can get off the waitlist. I'll repeat that again. Number 1, know the rules of engagement. Number 2, reaffirm your interest to the school. Let them know that you're interested in the program. It's not a given. Number 3, improve your profile and communicate that. And number 4, stay in touch. So Stella, I'm hoping for the best for you. Fingers crossed. And if all this still doesn't work out, remember my first reason, slot availability. It may have nothing to do with you. And it's totally okay. When I got waitlisted for the school, even though I did come off it, I didn't go to the MBA program that year. And I'm glad I did not. I went the next year. So it's totally fine to leverage this experience that you have for the next application cycle where you're able to benefit and you're making sure you're not leaving money on the table. You can improve your profile. Take the whole year to really understand what you need to work on and come back even stronger. So thank you for listening to today's episode. If you would like to ask a question, if you're not Stella, you got another question to ask as well, or you just want to learn more about Lanepod, links in the description or in the show note, or you can just Google and search for City of Lane. I'll see you in our next episode. Bye for now.